And welcome to a new video regarding WebXR, this time using the De-Panther Unity WebXR exporter in combination with VRTK. I prepared a sample scene for you here, and everything from templates to the samples in the GitHub repository, and the sample is live too on my GitHub Pages site, so you can always feel free to check it out and try it yourself. So it's basically a sample that works both with hand tracking and controllers, and you can just clone it with your GitHub Git client of your choice. I'll use GitHub Desktop here and just clone it to show you everything to set it up. So basically the rewiring from WebXR exporter and VRTK is done already, so there is nothing for you to set up from the basic structure. I tried to keep everything very similar to VRTK, so I was greatly inspired by the VRTK input packages, but just note you won't need the separate input packages. I tried to deliver everything here. You can just read through everything at the GitHub repository at the README, from controllers to hand tracking, from proxies, and play around with the sample scene. There are interactables, there is a door, there is teleporting implemented, there is gesture recognition from pinching to separate gestures. Just note that the pinch gesture with your pinky is already wired to the snap turn, so this may not behave like you will expect, but the sphere and the cube you've seen before in the screenshot will react with coloring to your gestures. And if you want to start from scratch, you can always use the template scene and VRTK. There are a lot of tutorials, there are a lot of videos, and as I said before, you won't need the input packages. I wired everything up with actions for you. You can just follow the tutorials, import additional packages from VRTK. And if you have any questions about VRTK, the homepage is really helpful. There is a Discord server, there is a Tilia package site, the GitHub repositories, and so on. And of course, the Academy with a lot of how-to guides and tutorials. Feel free to check them out. Feel free to implement something. VRTK is really a great toolkit, which gives you lots of possibilities. And it's very special because it gives you a low or no code basis to implement basically everything you've already seen in other virtual reality games. So while the project is loading, let's have a look. Here we go. There is, as I said, no need for the VRTK input packages. Everything is wired up. There are actions, Boolean actions, float actions, for instance, for your sticks, for the thumbsticks to be precise. And let's jump into the project. Within the scenes folder, there is the sample scene and the template scene. I just reorganized the windows a little bit so it may not look like the Unity editor you're used to from other templates. And let's check out the sample scene. I guess when you have worked with some kind of virtual reality toolkit before, it seems familiar. There are the spheres I mentioned before and the cubes and the little table with an interactable on it. And the WebXR camera set is the template, or the prefab to be precise, from the De-Panther WebXR exporter. Oh, I just saw that it's not finally rewired. I'll just finish it up here and I'll push the changes to the GitHub repo. And nothing to do for you here. I even wired up all the velocity estimators for the controllers or the hands and the headset. So that should basically work. And here is the track the layers from VRTK, which will take care of everything. And as I said, it's already rewired and set up. Here is the interactor, which will enable you to grab things or to interact with things, and a small script to rearrange it when switching from controllers to hand tracking. The same goes for the right controller, where only the interactor is, so feel free to change that as well to your needs. And here we are at the input section, and the left controller and the left hand, I'll just show it for the left hand because it's set up for the right side as well. Here are the actions which will be used by VRTK components, and it's always the same as the usual VRTK input packages. For instance, all the exit stuff are float packages, and all other stuff like touching or pressing is Boolean actions, and the same goes as well for the hands. But a little specialty here, the pinches are for the index finger, middle finger, ring finger, and pinky finger, and they're already gestures set up, heavy inspired by the first version of Facebook's Interaction SDK, which will have some kind of distance calculation from the fingertips to the wrist and the general threshold, which is set to 2 centimeters for checking if a gesture is performed or not. And for the sake of the sample scene, I just implemented a few things like the color changing cube and spheres, and of course the teleport, which will work with controllers when using the left thumbstick touch for activating the controller and for teleporting the clicking, and a little bit more complicated for the hand tracking stuff. I'll just try to rewire everything in the template scene as well. The teleport interactions are not moved to the template scene, so you can feel free to implement your own version of teleporting around, either via hand tracking or controllers. And as you see, I also implemented proxies to have a shared action for either hand tracking and controllers. So you can also feel free to implement more proxies or not use the proxies at all if you're just going to focus on one thing. And here we go. The environment only consists of the floor to give you a very smooth start with your own game or your own implementation. I will not walk you through the setup of the De-Panther WebXR exporter here, because there is already very good video from Fused VR. Sorry for the spelling mistake if you're watching this video. He will tell you everything there. It's a little bit outdated because he still imports packages with the manifest file, which is not necessary because the Tilia package exporter is already in the Unity asset store and will take care for you of that, of the package importing, and you can always select packages to import here. I'll just open the window here. On the window Tilia package importer, I already imported a few for the sample scene. When you need some more packages, feel free to open the package importer and import it yourself, except the input packages, because you won't need them here. Again, you can just follow along the tutorials on the YouTube channel. I'll just switch the build target to WebGL now and show you a little bit how you can deploy and test your scene easy, because that's not covered in the Fused VR video. Just after switching the build platform, go to the player settings. I was a little bit too fast here. I just have to wait for the recompilation of the scripts. And in the publishing settings, make sure to check the decompression for avoid any problems after publishing, because sometimes the gzip format does not work after the build and after publishing. And in the XR plugin management, make sure the WebXR export is checked. And that's basically the setup. You can always fiddle around, and I'm pretty sure there are lots of ways to improve the performance once it's done. But for now, we'll leave it like that to have to give you the possibility of a working build. And Fused VR will take care of everything else if you're interested, but you can also just follow the VRTK videos. But one thing he does not mention is the testing stuff, because testing is rather hard with WebXR. I'm just building here, made a new folder, like call it builds, and selected and built here, because all WebXR enabled applications need HTTPS, which is not the case when you're just testing with the Unity editor, because it will always give you an HTTP site, which is not that important when testing on localhost, but you want to test on your VR devices maybe, and then it's a problem. So that's the stuff that's created after building, and that's the stuff necessary for deploying. Just remember that. We will just add a few things here. And make it easy for you to deploy or to test locally. First of all, I'm going to open Visual Studio Code, go to File, Open Folder, open my builds folder where everything is located, where the index file .html is located, open folder. And now make sure to have npm installed because it's getting a little bit more complicated here. We're going to open a new terminal. You can also inspect the index.html file. Open a new terminal here and go type in the command that is used for installing Vite. And if you don't know Vite, Vite is a lightweight, I would say, bundler. Maybe someone can put in a better phrase. Please leave a comment and make sure I learn something too here. We're just going to install Vite, npm install Vite, and we install it as safe dependency, as safe as development dependency, I'm sorry, with --safe-dev. So it's not deployed to the production build. So we won't need it here. We won't need the Vite building capabilities at all. Just make sure to check the command line interface to have the commands for running the dev build of Vite. So I'm copying the scripts part, put it into my packages.json, remove the comments because comments are not allowed, delete the comments, and we now have the commands for starting our local server with Vite and with the minimum of setup. So index.html is here, everything is set up. So we're just trying to run it with npx space Vite. And as you can see, there is a local server running. There is no network server running, but that's actually the thing we want to have. So we need to put it with --host. And now we have a local server and a network server, which is reachable from our local network, wireless network, cable network, whatever, but it's still HTTP. So to take care of that, Vite has also a very good option. For instance, the server option, but we only need it for local deployment and testing. So we will use the Vite plugin basic SSL, which comes with a basic SSL certificate. And we just have to install the Vite.js plugin basic SSL. So just copy the name in a second. Here we go. Let's just take this one. Go back to our Visual Studio Code, npm install insert and --safe-dev to get it into the safe development dependencies as well. And as you can see, it's installed here, version 1.0.1. Okay, that's fine. And as the GitHub repo states, we need a viteconfig.js with this content to import it and to use it. Okay. Just right-click new file, Vite or Vite, sorry, it's spelled vite.config.js, paste the code, save it, and go back to the terminal and npx vite-host. And as you see now, everything looks the same, except we have an HTTPS connection now. And this HTTPS connection can now be opened by our browser. We have to accept the risk and continue because it's just a development certificate. And here we go. It's running in the browser in our local network, and we can open it within our VR HMD. For instance, in my case, it's a Quest 2, but it's always very troublesome to put in the address like the IP 192.168, blah, blah, blah. So I'll just show you a little trick to open the page fast. And one of the very cool things here, you won't have to restart the web server again. So you can just leave it running, make a new build, it will update. You just have to sometimes reload the page within your HMD browser. I will just say the Meta browser on my Quest. And we're now going to open Chrome. Chrome inspect devices, and my Quest 2 is attached via cable, and I've opened the Meta browser already, so I'm just waiting for the ADB command to connect to my HMD. Here we go, Quest 2, click on inspect, and it will open my browser from my Quest browser on my PC. And as you can see over here in the address bar, it's already pre-filled, but I can just replace it or reload it. And yes, it's having the same issue. It's HTTPS certificate is just for local deployment, and accept the rest, proceed. And as you can see, I can not click it. I can click it, proceed, and the application is loaded on my Quest without deploying it somewhere into the network because it's running on my PC within the same wireless network. And now when clicking on the VR button, in this case it's VR because it's a VR application, I can just start it. I have the console on my PC if I want to debug something, and so on and so forth. And I basically use this setup all the time because it's very easy, it's very fast. And one cool thing, the WebGL build in Unity is incremental. This means that only the first build will take some time, and every other build will be very fast. Except you have big changes, then it will take some time too. Okay, so we can also close the browser now because the address is already on our headset, and we just have to refresh the pages as long as the web server is running. You can cancel the run with Control-C. Control-C, yeah, absolutely, VPC. And when deploying, as I said before, you just have to make sure to select the index, HTML, and these 3 folders. Otherwise, we will run into some errors because the Vite project is not built, and if you build it, there will be some dependencies that will not work, blah, blah, blah. Just make sure to select the right stuff. And now we're going through the sample. As you can see here, the sphere will change color as soon as we do or perform some gestures. When we're pinching, the cube will change colors. 1, 2. I leave out 3 here because I will then trigger the pinky pinch for snap turn. I can grab the cube with my pinch gesture with both hands. Make sure the white cube, the intactor, will always pass into the object you're going to grab. I can throw it around. The velocity estimator will make sure that everything will behave correctly with the physics system. Left hand, right hand, and I can teleport by performing some kind of middle finger pinch. This is inspired by Chamber from Valorant. By snipping my right hand and holding it by the left hand, I can teleport around. I can grab the door. I can open it. This is just basically set up like the VRTK tutorial. There are no extra steps required. And with my pinky pinch, I can snap turn. I can then again turn around, teleport. Oopsie daisy. Sometimes my lighting is not that good in my room, so the tracking will fail sometimes. But yeah, actually that's it. I can just switch to controllers now. Right controller, left controller, everything will work as expected. Grip press, right grip press, press the trigger, play around with the buttons, AB left, AB right, teleport around with the left stick. Here we go, touching activates and clicking actual teleports. And with the right stick I can go back and forth and snap turn. So as you can see, also the stick touch events are recorded. Not every event is recorded. And thank you for watching. Hope you found this tutorial useful. I will appreciate it if you give this video a like, if you subscribe to my channel, and if you leave some comments, improvements, or ideas for future videos down below. All the links can also be found in the description box, and wish you all a nice evening and see you the next time.